Welcome to Light Up Your Practice. My name is Kathy Booker, and I'm excited to share with you excerpts from a collection of 5 interviews with wellness practitioners. These professionals have incorporated LifeWave products into their practices to improve and enhance how they serve their patients. If you'd like to watch the individual interviews, the links are posted below in the video notes.
Well, I was at a conference with my friend Therese, and I had spent the night before at my mother's on a very bad mattress. And so I was sitting in my seat, kind of trying to stretch my lower back, which was in a lot of pain. And she looked over at me and said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, no, my lower back's bothering me. I slept on a bad mattress last night." She says, "Oh, I have something that might just help that." And I said, "Really?" And she pulls out these patches, and I said, "Oh, I don't take any drugs, or, I don't do meds and that kind of thing." She says, "No, there's no drugs or chemicals in them. Just put this one on where the pain is the worst and put the other one next to it." And so, to tell you the honest truth, I thought it was a bunch of baloney. But she was being very sweet, and so I wanted to indulge her. So I went into the ladies' room, and I put those patches on. I came back to my seat, and it was about 10 minutes later, I was taking notes, and I went, "Oh my God, the pain is gone." And so I was one of those ones that had an immediate, amazing experience and went, "Okay, what is this and how do I get it?" And then I went to a meeting and heard a whole presentation and went, "Yeah, this makes sense. This makes absolute sense."
And so Paula Shaw is a therapist who actually has an office 2 doors down from me. And we run in similar circles. So I know her from other circles in my life. And one day I saw her, and Paula just turned 70 not so long ago. And this was 2 years ago. So she was 68 years old. And I looked at her and I said, "Paula, you got to tell me, like, who are you going to for the work?" And she said, "Michelle, I haven't touched anything in a year now. I stopped, I won't give away her secrets, but she stopped everything she was doing. Let's say that." And she says, "All I'm using are these stem cell patches." And I was like, "What?" Now, of course, there's a lot of conversation right now about stem cell technology, stem cell treatments. And I even had a stem cell injection done in my face. They take the belly fat out, right? Spin it, extract stem cells and inject it into your face. And, the results were like, meh. And it's very expensive. The results aren't consistent. You don't know quite what you're going to get and how the body is going to receive it. And prior to having that done on my face, I had torn my ACL. So I was looking into stem cell treatments for that. So stem cells were on my mind. So between already kind of being very drawn towards stem cell treatment and then looking at my colleague's face, I thought, "Oh my gosh, tell me more about this." And that's how I got involved. So Paula invited me to a live demonstration of the product, and I went and was very impressed at the science and very impressed at what I saw. And intuitively, which is how I function mostly in life, I intuitively knew that this product was something special, something I had never seen before. So I got involved. It's been 2 years now, and it's really one of the best parts of my life.
So 2 years ago, I was on a little bit of a quest to really search out some good new technologically advanced products and technologies that really could address things in a different way. We have a changing time that we're in right now, and I was really on a quest to see what else can I add to my practice beyond the manual, beyond the intuitive, and beyond some of the healing techniques that I have. At the same time, a colleague of mine said, "Hey, I'm hearing something about stem cell patches that you can put on your skin." And I said, "That's just absolutely crazy, makes no sense." But I went with her to a presentation and I kind of listened and I thought, "Oh, that's really interesting." I did hear a lot about the immune system. And it so happened that about 3 days later, I was preparing to go on a yoga retreat. And then I started coming down really fast with like a flu or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I've got this trip coming up." So I called up Paula, who had done the presentation. And I said, "Hey, do you have any of those X39 patches? Because now's the time I can really try it." Within 12 hours, hours, I was feeling about 90% better. I knew that I was turning a corner and going in the right direction.
As a new discovery comes to me, not my discovery, but I learn about it, and it's better than what I've been using, then I incorporate that into my center. And so when LifeWave showed up, that was a perfect evolution to what was next. I had a client come to me back in February, early March of 2019, and she shared with me that she has started wearing a patch that could activate her stem cells. And she shared that she had had a stem cell procedure some years ago, spent several $1,000s as they put stem cells from one area of her body into her face, and did that twice, and she had no results from that. And literally 2 to 3 weeks into wearing this stem cell activation patch, she was already seeing improvements, noticeable improvements in her face. So that got me thinking, because I've had several clients over the years who have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on stem cell procedures. Not many success stories from all that money spent. The next day, a practitioner came to me for reflexology, a very successful physical therapist, and she shared with me the patches as well and said, Brad, you really need to look at carrying these here for your clients. He says, I'm using these now with my clients and having very profound experiences.
I had seen a friend of mine, Michelle Leuschen, had posted something on Facebook about the LifeWave patches. And it was a third time in a couple of weeks that I had seen LifeWave patches, and I've heard about them for a couple of years. So I called her and spoke to her about them, and I got a 3-month supply. I started wearing them. I gave them to 2 friends to wear, and within 2 weeks, I decided that I wanted to try all the patches and understand how they all worked in the body.
What were the results that you got that you decided you wanted to try the rest of them?
So for me, it was just an overall feeling of just such balance in my body, consistent energy. And after a month, what happened is half of a 4-inch keloid, very thick scar, went away without even patching that area. It was, I wore it where I was told to wear it, and I was just amazed by that. It was like a miracle to me. And the other thing that happened to me is a drape bar fell on my nose one night, and I knew I thought I was gonna have a black eye in the morning, and I had on an Alavita and an Eon patch. Woke up in the morning, you could hardly even see anything happen. So I knew that the patches were doing something, and I started to use them more to really understand what they each did.
Well, the patches got my attention because I am incredibly vain, and
I love it.
I want to look young. I want to look young forever. And I have a colleague. Well, for me, there was a big result in skin. So what I noticed right away was that I have ultra dry skin. So I have the kind of skin that wrinkles very, I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, but I have freckles and very kind of dry, coarse hair and very textured skin. And that's just my skin type. Mm-hmm. And so I'm super dry all the time. And my hands look like a wrinkly old lady's hands. And my chest looked like a wrinkly old lady's chest. And I had more aging on my face than the average person my age. And that's the first thing I noticed, that within 2 months, I would say within 2 months, the skin on the back of my hand, it was like anti-aged, it was amazing. I went back to what my hands looked like 20 years earlier. And so then in another month, I started to see my face just hydrated, and there was more collagen coming in, and I looked younger. So I've always had a ton of energy. A lot of people have more energy from the X39, the stem cell patch. So for me, it really was cosmetic.
That got me to start wearing the stem cell patch and starting to look into information about this. And one of the things I came upon was a video from a medical doctor who I knew from the past, who's local to me here in Encinitas. And she talked about how even if you're in your 50s or 60s, and I'm in my late 50s, I'll be 60 next year. She says you can start to feel that you can start to feel like you're back in your 20s. What happened was 15 days into wearing the stem cell patch, and I'm tracking this. I'm at the gym 15 days into this, and I noticed that I was different. I had more energy than I'd had since I was back in my 20s, and more mental clarity. And I remember being on the machine at the gym and literally laughing out loud that I was experiencing exactly what this medical doctor had said was supposed to happen. And I couldn't believe that it would happen, but it did happen. That experience that I had was just before the end of March of 2019, and the company was having their annual event up in Los Angeles. So I hemmed and hawed whether I wanted to go. I decided to go, prepared just to arrive and then leave, because if this was going to be a rah-rah kind of a event, I didn't want to be part of that. But I did want to meet David Schmidt and get an idea of who the inventor of these patches is. And I was on the edge of my seat for 2 days. I heard so much incredible science, had some private conversations with David, and he was every bit what I hoped he would be for me to want to carry his technology in my center. So all of my family are enjoying the patches right now. My dad is 90 and my mom's 88. Mom's got some dementia challenges and dad's got some heart issues. So I've got both of them on 3 patches every day. So they're wearing the stem cell patch, the carnosine patch, and the Eon patch every single day. They have been now for 2 years. And they're doing great. They're really, really doing great. You would not believe my dad is 90 if you were to meet him, and mom as well. My mother-in-law, who lives with us, about a quick funny story, about 2 months into her wearing the stem cell patch, we're having dinner, and I have a son who's 8. He was 6 at the time, and he just turned 8, and he says to his mother-in-law, to his grandmom, my mother-in-law, he says, "Grandma, why don't you have any more wrinkles?" And it was stunning because we looked really close, and she looked noticeably different. Absolutely love these patches. My wife wears several patches a day.
What was an easy grasp for me to get how the patches worked, because the patches work with light, right? And one of the foundational pieces of the philosophies behind energy psychology techniques is that everything in the universe is particles and waves of energy. And that is light. Particles and waves of light. We could use those words interchangeably. And so I knew already from my work that if you shift energy, you can shift the way a person feels, you can shift pain, you can shift so many things. So here comes a little patch that works with light, and its basic goal is to shift the way the light is working in the moment that's problematic so that it can work better.
The immune system is where I entered and found out about LifeWave, but really there's so many other good patches that I've been able to explore because that just piqued my interest. And then I was able to say, okay, what else is going on here? And the fact that they worked so quickly was really astounding to me. After I had seen some of the different effects and really educated myself around the different patches and what they do, for me personally, seeing a pain population, my 2 favorites would probably be the Eon, which addresses inflammation, which is often the cause. And before I actually do any testing, I have them kind of move their body and tell me what their pain is on like 0 to 10, or where is it really intense. And I say, think about what that feels like for you and the intensity and the quality of the pain. I put an Eon patch usually on C7 on the back of the neck. And then I give them about 20 seconds, and all of my patients know to show up hydrated. So that's also really important to say, is that energy travels through the water and interstitial tissues of your body. So we need that to be well hydrated. And sometimes I have a glass of water for them if they're not, because that's important to see if it's going to work. And then I wait about 20 seconds and I just say, tell me if it's changed at all. And I started seeing so many patients say, yeah, like, I actually just kind of feel relaxed and something's different, or yeah, that actually helps a lot. And they start really moving to test it out. And so that's kind of how I started learning, was I learned to see the reactions of my patients when they started thinking, oh, that's really quick. And I thought, well, this is genius. If I can start getting their pain to actually start going down immediately on the first visit, that makes me look like a rock star. And they start to see also that their body can change that fast. And so when you do that proving with this patch, it's incredible. So usually I'll start with an Eon just to see, because I think that's the fastest patch out of all of them. Then I'll follow if there's still some pain with ice waves, and I'll just kind of like play around with the ice waves. So the ice wave and the Eons together are really beneficial for pain. So I like people to commit to 3 months on the X39 if they have something like arthritis, or they have diabetes, or they have conditions that they've had for a long time. And used in combination with the Eon and the ice wave, it is very powerful. And then beyond that, a glutathione can be really helpful for pain.
And then I started bringing them into my practice. It's easy the way I work when I actually see my clients in person, and I do remote and in person now, because I can easily say to them, is it okay to put a patch on you and see how you feel? And I had a client come into my office 2 weeks ago with a horrible migraine. And I asked her if it was okay, and I put an Eon on the back of her neck, and then I started placing the ice wave on different areas to just see how her pain level would go down. And it was so exciting when it went down to a 1. She was shocked. I mean, it's, when it works that quickly.
How fast did that happen?
That happened probably in a minute.
And did her migraine return?
No.
It was gone.
I've had really good results with bruising, people that have had injuries, where a day or two later it's all gone. I have some older men in my practice who nap all the time, and they're wearing the X39. None of them are napping anymore. Some of them are athletes, so less pain in their body for sure. Sleep, X39, people sleep better. And so it's been fun to incorporate the patches into all aspects of the work that I do.
So once you tried the patches for yourself and found that the results and that they weren't a bunch of hooey, how did you transition from that into saying, hey, I've got some clients, some patients that could really use some of this as well, and you started learning a little bit more about them as well. What made that change happen, and how did you start doing that?
Well, I think once I went to an actual presentation and learned, the scope of what these patches could do, I was dealing with people with depression, and I hear then there's this Nirvana patch that can help with that. There was an energy patch, and a lot of times when people are grieving, energy is a real issue. They're just wiped out. Then there was Eon that was anti-stress, anti-inflammatory. I could just see so much potential. And quite honestly, I didn't introduce them into my practice right away because I wanted to experience them first. I never recommend anything to anybody that I haven't experienced first. Right. And so I used them, but I was very anxious to share them with my mom and dad, who are in their 90s, and, because energy was an issue for sure. Cognitive clarity was becoming a bit of an issue. And my sister had lupus for many years and not slept well. And when I heard about silent nights, I thought, okay, so I'm going to try these myself and with my family. And if they really are as good as everybody says, wow, this could really help people in my practice as well. And one of the things I loved most was no drugs and chemicals, because some people who come to me, they're on depression meds or they're on other kinds of meds, maybe anti-anxiety or that kind of thing. I mean, my goal is always to try to help people get off meds, but also I would never use anything with them that could have a negative interaction with drugs they're already using. So what I loved about these patches was there was no danger there because there was nothing actually going through the skin. There were no drugs and chemicals. The first one that was just an absolute natural, and I can remember the exact day. One of my patients actually played in the NFL, and he came in that day, and he had been cut from the team he'd been playing with, and it was a big team. And he was devastated. I mean, almost fetal ball. And here's this big guy falling apart. And I said to him, do you mind if I put a little patch on you? There's no drugs or alcohol in it. I'd like to just put it right here on the back of your neck. It'll just help calm you. And he looked at me and he said, I'll do anything you want me to. I just want to feel better. And so I put Eon on him. And I'm telling you, by the time he left, he was smiling. I mean, I have to say, take a little credit. I did some work with him too. I didn't just put a patch on him and let him sit there for an half an hour.
You haven't replaced your practice.
Yes. The patch hasn't replaced Paula, but it certainly is a great add-on.
And then as I got interested in the product and interested in the science behind the product, I started to see the breadth, the width of what this product could do. And I started using it in my practice. And that's when I really started to gain experience on how much these patches could help people. A particular woman who comes to mind, she's a young mom, and because of hormonal fluctuation, was really having trouble sleeping, and uses a combination of the Eon and the sleep patch and has really great results. And now it's been 2 years later and she's still using those patches. Also, when people have injuries, you see with mind body, there's a lot of the mental, emotional health not being optimal. And then you'll see a correlation that also there's some complaints in the body. There's inflammation, stress and emotional stress creates inflammation in the body. So I'm often seeing people who have pain in their body. I see a lot of like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. Now, I'm not seeing people for that condition.
Right.
It just so happens that a good percentage of the people I see have also the condition, mystery illnesses, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, sleep disorders. I don't treat those things. And I won't say that the patch treats it either. But what I have found is that the patches give them so much relief and really helps them. So one of my favorite stories is about a client I had who happened to mention her husband, and her husband has had sleep problems for 12 years because he has pain in his legs at night for some unknown reason. No one knows why, but he has very severe pain in his legs at night. And I gave her the LifeWave patches and said, take these home to your husband. Here's how you use them. Let's see if they help. It was miraculous. She called me the very next day and said he slept for the first time last night and had no pain. So now both her and her husband, they both use the patches. So, it's been such a joy that not only has it helped my clients, but I have the opportunity also to help their family and their loved ones.
Been friends with an energy healer, and he uses different technologies as well. And naturally, he was very attracted to LifeWave from the beginning. But before he got his first order, he brought his most challenging patient to me. And this poor lady, when she arrived and she wanted to tell me what her story is, she had to lay on her back on the floor to communicate that. She was in such pain. So pulled out the Eon patch, put that on her C7. And within about 10, 15 seconds, she began to cry. She says, I'm feeling areas of my body I have not felt for a long time.
Wow.
And then she started sharing about this pain that's been there for I think 2 decades is what she said. And it feels like a spear that goes right through from the upper thigh to the back, front to back. And so we put the LifeWave there, one on the front, one on the back. And I'm watching this miracle happen in front of my eyes. This lady stands up. She walks into the bigger part of my center and starts dancing around, and she's still crying. She runs up to me, hops in my arms with an embrace, and says, Brad, I think you've saved my life. And I had just met this lady 5 minutes earlier. So that's a story. That's an experience I'll never forget. My dad, as I said, who's 90, brings in a good friend of his he's like late 80s, 88, 89. He's on a cane and he's in such pain. And my dad says, Brad, can you help Joe? He's in such pain he can barely maneuver. And I said, Dad, you know I can. And so, so I put the Eon patch on Joe, put the IceWave on, and Joe looks at me with big eyes. He says, my God, this is real. He was completely out of pain.
I have a client who was going in for major surgery, and she used the patches pre and post surgery. She had nurses help her put them on after surgery, and an amazing recovery. I mean, she was definitely a little swollen, but very little bruising, and her recovery, everyone in the hospital was so impressed. They wanted to know what she did. So it was exciting to see how well the patches worked for that.
I had one client who was having shoulder surgery during the course of our work together. He said, oh, next week I'm going in for shoulder surgery. I said, you know, I'd really love you to have these patches to support your healing. Let me just send you some, see what you think. There's money back guarantee. If you like them, we'll get more. If you don't like them, we'll never talk about it again. No problem. Again, I don't make my sessions about it. I mention it. It's like, I feel like it's remiss of me not to mention it. So I mention it with no expectation. It's never a sales pitch, no attachment to it at all, just a gift. And 90% of the time I'm giving them some samples or putting it in in the mail. But a lot of times too, the clients just say, we'll just go because of the money back guarantee is so good. They just say, well, go ahead and put me in a month order. And if they like them, they keep them. If they don't, they return them. And
one great benefit I have here with the patches is a lot of the clients that come to see me have pain issues. That's the main reason that a lot of clients are coming here. So I don't patch the X39 stem cell patch with them. As much as I love that, and that's the granddaddy of the patches, that's not necessarily going to be an instant notice for clients. And I want instant pain relief to show up when they come to me. I learned and began using a protocol that I use to this day. And I start with an Eon patch. No matter where the pain is, I'll put the Eon patch right behind the neck at the C7 there and have them drink a little bit of water. And I will say 80% of the time, they're already noticing a decrease in their pain. And I've known and taught for years that pain very frequently is a result of the stress in their lives. And if we can tackle that and lower the stress right away, which is what the Eon patch does, then the pain is immediately affected most of the time. And then we go to part two, which is the IceWave. And whatever we didn't accomplish with the Eon patch frequently gets accomplished with the IceWave patch.
Now, I know you mentioned that you do reflexology work. Do you combine that with the patches on patients?
I do. I feel I'm going to give them a much better session if they're in a state of relaxation. And so the Eon patch is just automatic. So I put an Eon patch on, and to use David's words, the Eon patch instantly balances the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So they feel a difference. I always have them drink some water because that's going to help the result. And then they lay down to start the session. And I know we're having better sessions just from that.
Now, you mentioned that the patient can have them patches sent directly to their house. Is the company pretty easy to work with to make that happen?
So easy. It's really, the customer service is really quite amazing with LifeWave. And, it's a 30 to a 90-day money back guarantee, as far as I know, for a couple different reasons. But the nice thing is that the company is willing to, they're confident enough that you're going to receive some benefits and feel better, that they're willing to let you try it. And then if for any reason you're unhappy or you're not sure, or you want to give it back, you basically can just call the customer service and they will send you a number and you send it back in the mail, and they give you your money back. And people like them. In fact, when I give out, if I give it out, a sample or try this for 3 days, as part of their treatment, they often come back and I say, hey, how is the patch? And they're like, oh, I'm not really sure, but I patched my hairdresser and I patched my dog because it's fun. People like to patch. And if you tell me that you have a pain, I want to pull something out of my purse and say, oh, try this, So I think it's an easy, really simple thing to do. I really think that medicine is going to evolve and toward more of these types of self-help. And you've seen it already this year, right? Like Instagram and Facebook, and everybody has something they're trying to sell you. It's a superfood coffee, or it's a exercise band, and everything is really gearing more toward what can you do at home? What can you do for yourself? How can you empower your own health? Do you need to go to so many doctor visits? Because I think that people are seeing that they don't always have the answers. And I think people are getting more and more skeptical about putting medicine in their body. I just think that's the way that things are going. So I think new technologies like LifeWave that have the ease, the low cost, they're very affordable, and something you can do at home. It doesn't require any electronics. You don't have to know about computers or do anything. You just can keep a sleeve in your purse, and you can put it on when you need it, or you can share it with your friends. It's a really natural, easy therapy. And I think people are going more and more toward that. Absolutely. I think this has been probably the best adjunct to add into a practice that I had always, kind of created by hand, like I really put a lot of thought into exactly what kind of practice I want to have. And I really want to be offering the latest and greatest to my patients of what's out there, and easy things that don't require, like I said, a lot of cost or a big machine to be hooked up to. So I really think that this is not only a natural way to increase your own results in your practice, but it's also potentially a little more revenue you can bring in a time that everybody is needing that. So there's the clinical side of it, and then there's also the business side of it. And it's just such a natural fit for clinicians to use this in their practice. Maybe I have like a stash that I have in my office so that I can sell people, retailers, say, hey, try this for a month. And then it's an easy segue, if it's working for them, to say, hey, let's set you up for a wholesale account, because that way you can keep doing it at a really affordable rate. And I want to see you be successful. So I just wanted to introduce you to it, if you think. But it's really been a great add-on for my clinic and I don't ever see a time that I'm not going to be using these on myself, my family, my patients, because everybody really likes them.
What I do usually, if they're interested or if I feel like they are a candidate, sometimes I'll just mail them a few samples. I think right now everybody understands that we got to do things in a little different way. I mean, yesterday, to tell you the truth, I met a woman in a parking lot to sell her some X39 patches because she was out of them. And she's actually using them also on her dog right now, who is very ill. So, we make it work whatever way we have to these days. Everybody's focus is on staying well these days. And I feel personally that between X39, Eon, and glutathione, we're very well protected and very well supported in staying well. And so I do share, because, one of the things I'm dealing with a lot these days is the angst that a lot of people have about getting the virus. And especially, it was certainly worse before we had a vaccine. But there's a lot of angst that people are going through. And so I personally believe that using those 3 patches is a great way to boost the immune system, to keep us strong, and to keep us well. I mean, for me, I would go as far as saying the overall quality of my life right now, which I think is great, is due primarily to the patches. Certainly to the fact that I think positively and I meditate and I eat right. Those things help. But I feel like the patches are that bridge that just keeps me on the side of health and vitality.
I'm seeing people who are under stress. They're in duress somehow or under stress somehow. And so a lot of them, maybe their quality of sleep isn't great because they've got, the racing mind. And so there's 2 different patches I use for that, either an Eon patch or the sleep patch. And so I'll give them some samples. And I've had many people come back and say that worked. There's one. So it's become an easy share for me. Because I've got a client base, I've got people coming in, and I don't talk to every client about the patches. It's not on my agenda. I don't have a pre-agenda that everybody who comes in, I'm going to introduce them to the patches. It's really something that's just coming up as natural conversation. When I'm talking to a client and they're saying, I'm really experiencing a lot of stress, I say, here, try this Eon patch. I'll patch them right in the office, and they'll notice that their energy, their nervous system starts to calm down, their anxiety starts to calm down, and I'll give them a couple to experiment with over the next few days. It's just a natural, organic conversation that comes up. Or if they say, I'm going through X, Y, or Z, I'm having some trouble sleeping, or the client will just come in and say, I stubbed my toe on the way in, or I pulled my shoulder playing tennis last night and I'm kind of ornery, I'm kind of irritable because my shoulder hurts, and it's such a no-brainer. It's so easy. It's so easy to say, would you like to try this? If not, no problem. I only spend 3 or 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'm not sales pitching anything. I'm giving them a gift. They're trying it. If they like it, they call me. And I order them I order them more, or I'd sign them up or whatever. But it's, I like to keep it kind of separate. Like they're there for EFT or they're there for coaching. So we do that. But mm-hmm. within that, it's been an organic experience to share the patches with them.
We've all gone as clinicians more to, telemedicine and having to communicate with our patients, that either are worried about coming in or it's not practical. That we do have everything we need to heal in our body, but the environment, things we're putting in our body, being dehydrated, our mental state, our emotional state, our attitude, fear, right? Mm-hmm. All of those things are going to impact us. So we really do also need to kind of kickstart something in our body. And that's what I love about the LifeWave patches, because that's exactly what they do. They really are powered by the human body. They're set off by the heat on the skin. And then they're simply reflecting that the infrared back into our body for that purpose. And so this is a really easy way to do on telemedicine. It's a really easy way to do a newsletter. It's a great way to, like, a phone call or a text, hey, I want to know how you're doing. Are the patches helping, or what could be better in your life, right? So I've had patients call me and say, I'm really worried about coming in. I'm kind of locked down. So what could I do for my neck pain? And I say, well, let's try an Eon patch for a month, once a day for a month. Let's just start there. So conservative. It's super easy. You can do it online. It's all guaranteed. So really it's a no-brainer to give it a try if a patient isn't really wanting to come in.
First order I received was a very large order that I placed. It's a diamond order. And it was literally 2 to 3 weeks after that large package of patches arrived that I was needing more patches. I was literally out of supply that quickly. I'm calling Lara and I'm saying, look, I need some Eon and IceWave as soon as you can get me some. So yeah, a lot of my clients, if they come in on a regular basis, they just buy from me when they come in. But many of them just order online. We've set up wholesale accounts for them so they have their own store and can order whenever they wish.
What I usually do is I'll send people home with 5 or 10 patches. They'll order, and then in a week it'll be there.
Do you share LifeWave patches with other practitioners?
I do. I'm working with an associate who's a fitness coach. So she works with a lot of people who have pain in their body. And she just started using them, and she's starting to work on her clients now.
What would you say to other practitioners who are maybe interested in the patches, but considering, is this something that I can use with my patients? Whether they're a coach or whether they're a medical professional, is there something that, that they can use with their clients, their patients, and, how they would get that started with that?
I think no matter what clientele you're dealing with, whether you're like Brad, dealing with a health and wellness practice in reflexology, or you're counseling or you're coaching, you're dealing with humans. And I think the variety of patches LifeWave has created addresses a lot of human situations. Sleeplessness is such a huge problem for so many people. And we've got a patch for that. Low energy, which comes hand in hand with depression. And there's a lot of depression out there right now. Energy enhancers are so great for that. We've just got carnosine to help you just feel better overall. One thing I will say, after 28 going on 29 years of counseling people, when they physically don't feel good or they're so wiped out they can hardly keep their eyes open, I don't care what kind of magic you present in a session, it's not going to do them much good. In the kind of work I do, where I need a person to be able to focus and be present, you need them to be feeling good. And if you can offer them something that is not a prescription, that will make them feel better, that will offer them more vibrant health and more vitality in their life, that is going to be a game changer no matter what your practice is. You're doing, what are we all in practice for anyway? We're in practice to help people live better lives. And these patches do help people live better lives.
I guess the term no-brainer is overused, but it really is a smart and good idea for practitioners and wellness centers to carry these, where our goal is to serve our clients. And so why not bring in something that is just extraordinary for that purpose? And it was really nice to notice that, even though I didn't get into LifeWave for the financial benefits of what that could offer, I didn't even know about that yet. But to see it, especially the early stages of COVID, when I wasn't seeing a lot of people here, to see the automatic ordering that so many of my clientele were doing. Was a great benefit to me and my family, financially through this period. Every wellness center, it needs to have these available. What's special about this light therapy is we are the source of it. It's no outside source, it's us. And that to me is perfect, and so I'm grateful to have these patches, and I really think practitioners and wellness centers need to carry them.
I did work this whole year. My practice as you can imagine, my practice did not slow down. People were under incredible strain this year. And between the politics and the pandemic, people were really under incredible strain and relationship strain and, personal work strain and finance strain. So I did see people through Zoom, through, online platforms, video, and same thing. They would be talking about, I've got X, Y, or Z problem. And I'd say, hey, do you want to try this out? And I would say that it honestly gives any practitioner an edge. It really gives you an advantage. So if you're a physical therapist, it's giving you an advantage in that market of physical therapists, and same with the chiropractor, an acupuncturist, or a therapist. It's really giving you something that not everybody, hopefully someday everybody will know about these, but for the time being, it's going to give you an edge. I don't think anybody who's been in the company's about 15, 16 years old, I think. And so I think those who were a part of the company in the beginning, when there were energy patches and pain patches, I don't think anybody anticipated that someday there was going to be a stem cell patch. I don't think that was on anybody's radar. I mean, what an explosive discovery, and it changed so much for everyone personally and business wise. Financially, I think that it was a game changer. I'm looking forward to that next game changer, and I have a sneaking suspicion that there is one coming. I have heard a few things.
There's a little bit of rumblings about it. So
yes. And I have a little bit of idea of what it could be. And I anticipate that it's going to be in an anti-aging arena. And so I'm excited about that. I'm ready whenever David is ready to launch his next phototherapy patch. Again, I got started on this just out of vanity. And so I think if he continues along this anti-aging route, I think what he comes up with next is going to be just an absolute game changer.
Well, I'm so excited to find out, what's next here. Where's this going to go? Because the X39 is so incredible. I can't imagine what's next.
There's not a whole lot of companies that thrived over the last year. And LifeWave absolutely thrived in every way. And, the truth is there's not a person that one or a combination of these patches can't help. So I'm very excited about the future of LifeWave. There's no competition to LifeWave. There's not another phototherapy patch company out there that I know of. And there's only one David Schmidt that I know of. And he's absolutely brilliant. I mean, every time I hear David speak, you just absorb the brilliance of what this man has to offer. And I'm sure he's got some great things lined up to bring to us in the future. But if he never brought anything more, I mean, we could take of all the patches, each one of them could be an entire standalone company. But there's 10 of them. I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary. So it's an honor to be part of this. And I will certainly look forward to what's in the future. But what we have now is absolutely perfect.
Well, you remember that American Express commercial they used to have, "Don't leave home without it"? Well, that's how I feel about my patches. There's not a day that I go without my patches.